Welcome back. It's the Marketer of the Day podcast. Lesley Hensell is back as a return guest. She was at marketeroftheday.com/907. Her website is Riverbend Consulting. She is the suspension lady. If you want to get compliant and you want to succeed in Amazon, she is your go-to source. And even more importantly, she has a brand new book out called The Amazon Incubator, Grow Your Business or Hatch a New One. So we're going to find out why you need to run, not walk, and pick up that book and how it can help you. So Lesley, glad to see you again.
Thanks so much, Robert. It's great to be here again.
Great to have you. And so what has changed? I think it's been, I don't know, maybe like a year or two. And I've heard more lately about Walmart being like one of those hot platforms and marketplaces. But what have you heard and what has changed with you since we spoke a few years ago?
So what's changed in online commerce is lots of shakeups, but not much change for people who are in the day-to-day in the trenches trying to sell, and for entrepreneurs. Walmart is definitely investing a tremendous amount in their platform, but it doesn't really seem to be moving the needle. The sellers that I know on Walmart still really aren't having the kind of sales that they want to see, even though Walmart is doing crazy stuff like with fulfillment to make the customers happy, to make the customers come back. They're overnighting stuff to you if it's not available at the time, and all this, nutty stuff that's very expensive. But consumers, you got to remember that almost every household in America has a Prime membership at this point. So that makes them very much addicted to the Prime experience, and you just expect to get things quickly. And I think that that's had Amazon have this staying power over Walmart.
That's interesting to think about. And I've noticed that in my own household. Like I have the Amazon Prime. And so if my wife says, well, we need to get this for our kid, here's the link. And then she sort of handles the groceries. And because of the pandemic, we like to do like the Walmart pickup. And we kind of started that in the pandemic and never really went back because it was so convenient. And so she does like the Walmart pickup order. And then the items that aren't there for them to put in our car, if they don't have it in stock, then they do what you're talking about. They mail it to us like so quickly. And so it kind of makes me think of like Google versus Bing, right? How like Google's still number one, and then Bing's doing all kinds of like amazing things with AI, and they're always in the news. But that's important to maybe think about that. Well, just because there's activity and there's noise doesn't necessarily mean that the grass is greener on the other side. It's all about the data and what's actually making us money.
Well, and you're right about the whole grocery situation, because I buy almost everything on Amazon. We are an Amazon household. I do exactly what you do, though. I order groceries for delivery. So right before we got on here, I had a delivery to my door from Walmart of grocery items, but I just don't use Walmart to search for other things. I don't really like the way they present the offers from third-party sellers. It's not as attractive. There is not as many selling tools, and the ads on Walmart are not conducive to PPC by third-party sellers the way they are on Amazon. So on Amazon, you can create these great ad campaigns that point to your individual items, and then you can also have ads that build your brand. On Walmart, it's all just about your brand, and you can't really point to those individual items. So it makes it harder to search, to really find what you want, and it's certainly harder on the merchants.
Okay, so Amazon is not quite there yet. And so would you say should we still live there? Should we still have a product placement, just maybe not devote all of our time to it?
So if it is reasonable for a seller to have a Walmart presence, I think it's smart to be on Walmart, because do you really want to give up the customers that are searching out there on that marketplace? So if you have things being fulfilled by a 3PL, or you do enough volume that you can place items in the Walmart fulfillment centers the same way you do with Amazon, go for it, but don't expect it to make up more than 10% of your sales.
Okay, well, fair enough. Well, thank you for updating us about the Walmart situation. And then in other topics, right, in e-commerce or Amazon, like what has you excited lately?
Oh, goodness. So I'm always excited about opportunities on Amazon. It's funny. You mentioned earlier, I'm the suspension lady. I really am. That's what people call me, like at a trade show. They're like, that girl over there, that's the suspension lady. Go talk to her. And even though my job is dealing with problems 24/7 on Amazon, because that's what we do. We help people with bad stuff that's happened on their Amazon seller account. I still think there is incredible opportunity. Amazon is still the biggest incubator for small business in the history of the world. There is no other place that you can test products, try new things. Because if you develop a new product idea, you can't go down to your store down the street to your Walmart or Target and get them to put it on the shelf. But you can put it up on Amazon and find out if it's something that's going to work. So I know lots of sellers right now who are still testing new products, new ideas, new variations on existing products, and finding their riches in the niches. There's still so much to be accomplished out there with any kind of a specialty item or something that's an improvement on something people have wanted for a long time.
Wonderful. And I like this incubator concept because we want to shorten that time that it takes to get from your idea and the proof of concept to actually trying it out. You can spend all day long playing around with your product name and your description and how it looks, but you can waste so much time. You can waste years of your life. And if you don't have that little bit of the speed factor of trying it out, of seeing if it actually sells or not, then you might be just wasting time needlessly. And so, is this what the book is all about? Is this why it's called the Amazon Incubator?
Yes. So the concept is, if you search, how do I sell on Amazon, or teach me to sell on Amazon, unfortunately you'll find a whole lot of very expensive courses and a lot of videos with people showing off their Lamborghinis and their expensive watches, trying to convince you can work for 5 hours a week and make millions of dollars, and it's going to be simple and easy and just use my system. And then they want to charge you $25,000 or something like that, and you might lose it all. So this book is very much of an old school approach, just like old school business incubators, right? When you would sit down with a business consultant and say, let's grow a plan. But it's like a simplified business plan for any entrepreneur who wants to sell on Amazon or do a better job selling on Amazon. And it's very much a step-by-step blueprint of how you want to do it and what your goals are. Not that you should have, now, if you want a Lamborghini, let's go for that. But I think most people, that's not what they want. They want to retire a couple years earlier, to have another stream of income, to pay for their kids' college, or they have a small business and they want to expand onto Amazon instead of just selling on Shopify store, whatever that might be. It's the idea of you putting your ideas into the blueprint of this book and seeing what you can grow.
Awesome. And I love the idea of the plan because as you said, it's frustrating to learn this and to say, okay, well, the information's there, but the step-by-step presentation is frustrating. Like you mentioned some of these high-ticket courses, and I bought a few over the years, and they spend so much time talking about how to set up your account and how to like fill in these exact text boxes and how to link it to your bank account and the kind of scotch tape you should get to tape on your boxes. And I'm like, okay, that's all great and important, but couldn't that just be like 20 minutes? And can't you help me with like the product description and the marketing? And then they leave out some of these things like, oh, by the way, you need to have insurance for your item. And like, couldn't you tell me that instead of focusing on the account creation? So I like this idea of you saying, well, here's the whole plan, here's the whole strategy, and here's some of these things that you should do to get your product out there and to market it and actually make sure that it sells, and to have kind of some of these daily tasks to optimize it and keep it selling. That way I can run an actual business and not just get so stuck and so bogged down in that one single account creation form, which is great, but I want to move beyond that. And also I like how you presented it of you kind of can use it for all these different purposes, right? You don't necessarily have to make the next like Furbies or Tickle Me Elmo. You can say, well, I want this to pay for this car, have this side hustle, pay for college. You can put it to work for a specific goal. And so as far as you dealing with these accounts and teaching people Amazon and keeping them out of trouble and helping them succeed, is there anything that has surprised you lately that you feel like talking about?
Oh goodness, there's always things to surprise you on Amazon, aren't there? One thing that I've been seeing quite a bit of is there are people going to wholesalers and distributors to try and get product. And then Amazon is rejecting those invoices because they don't like the wholesalers and distributors. And so what we've been kind of figuring out at Riverbend as we're looking at this as a bigger picture challenge, is that there are companies out there representing themselves as wholesalers and distributors of products that are authorized. And not only are they not authorized, but they're buying out like returns. They're buying out wholesale lots out of Amazon warehouses, sourcing goods that aren't really new and trying to put the imprimatur of new on them. There's also been a lot of challenges with stolen goods out there right now. So there are some bad guys, some big rings of bad guys that have been stealing goods like out of Port of LA, out of other places where they're getting whole containers of goods. And then they're selling them to distributors and wholesalers who are then selling to Amazon sellers. So it's pretty shocking and it's pretty dangerous. So what that teaches all of us is you really need to understand who you're buying your stuff from. There are so many good products to resell on Amazon, but you've got to make sure they're the real deal. And that means having real relationships with people, not just going online and saying, I've got to find a catalog so I can find something that I can throw up on Amazon and sell. It may not be legit. Also, buying overseas, sometimes you end up with garbage. If you buy from AliExpress, for example, a lot of that is knockoff goods. So there is some real danger and challenge in sourcing. I do go into that a lot in the book of how to evaluate where you're buying your goods, but it's always good to reinforce that actually speaking to real people, getting on video calls, if you can't go and meet them because they're not local to you, seeing that they're real humans offering these products, it really does help.
Wonderful. And yeah, people will always find these dishonest ways of making money. And then you yourself think that you're getting a good deal, but then Amazon says, hey, we already blacklisted them, and you kind of get roped in with them. And that's a scary place to be. But then the lesson I'm getting from you speaking here is that so much is possible now with Amazon and e-commerce and the things that have been invented, but we still need to develop these relationships and find these good people. That way we can have like a stable business. And then also I imagine that it helps protect against the competitors, right? Because if here you are checking these things out and avoiding the red flags and getting on the video calls, and if someone sees that your widget's selling super great and they want to go and do a knockoff, maybe they take the shortcuts and they talk to the AliExpress people, or their supplier switches the quality on them later on, and then they lose and you win. So it seems like the lesson is just to even though we have the technology, still be people focused and still develop their relationships, because that's the difference between a business that will last and one that will just get shut down, never to be seen again.
Well, and the best ways to run a business are still the old school ways to run a business. For a long time, Amazon was like the Wild West. You could buy any product from anywhere, throw it up there, and it would sell. And it's not like that anymore. That's more of the eBay model. You really have to have legitimate product, good sourcing, documentation. You need to set up your books, know your numbers, know if you're actually making a profit in real time, not at the end of the year when you've already lost money or worked for free. So these old school, really boring methods of writing down all of your expenses, having all your documentation, and having relationships, those are timeless. And I think some sellers get away from that because they want to do quick and easy, and then they pay the price. If you do the slow and steady, really boring old people way of running business, because I'm one of those old people, then you're a lot more likely to be successful for the long term and get what you really want.
That's a very helpful lesson, and you find that again and again when you talk about people where they've succeeded or what their biggest secret is. Many times it's just knowing their numbers and keeping things simple and basic and understandable and real time, and in many ways, right? Because there's like your financial numbers and your conversion numbers and your traffic numbers, and I think that's just like that might even be one of the most important lessons there is. Just know your numbers. As boring and as much as it hurts your brain, figure out a way to tap into that, or have someone on your team who can be number focused, so that way you're not deceiving yourself, and you actually know what these are, and so that way you can make the qualified decisions and do what you need to do. And so you've seen so many different things, and help so many different businesses. And the great thing about Amazon and e-commerce is that it's all over the place, right? There's people with products and people making money that you just would never even have imagined. And so along those lines, do you have a fun story to tell us? Is there a fun story, like in your book or in your experiences, just about doing what you do and just helping out one of these Amazon sellers? What comes to mind as far as a fun story?
Oh goodness, there are so many. Okay, so I actually have one that's relatively recent. There was a seller in the supplement category. Supplements are very competitive and very difficult. And if you want to get started selling your own product on Amazon, don't do supplements. It's really hard and cutthroat. There was a supplement seller I was working with who they had a lot of their listings actually defaced. Someone had gone into the back end of Amazon system, swapped out the photos on their listing with other photos, some of them pornographic, put keywords in their listings that were the names of street drugs, all kinds of really, really bad things. And then they started getting these text messages from someone demanding Bitcoin. And this was a third party who'd been hired by one of their competitors. You said fun story. This doesn't sound fun. It gets fun, I promise. That a third party that had been hired by one of their competitors, that when you read the text messages, you couldn't help but read them in that Boris and Natasha accent, from Rocky and Bullwinkle, like, we demand 5 Bitcoin. You will give it to us now. I mean, you could hear it as you read the messages. They're clearly from Russia or somewhere near Russia from the way they wrote. So worked with this seller, helped them present information to the FBI, helped them present information to other government agencies, eventually got them in good with Amazon, fixed all of their problems with Amazon, and recently found out that some of the folks who were involved in this situation were in fact arrested and are facing jail time. And what's exciting about it is that the folks involved with the bad guy actions attacked a whole lot of sellers. So because we were really aggressive and didn't just work with Amazon, but also worked with law enforcement, I think that we helped to have those dominoes start to fall. So very exciting to know that there are some bad actors that we help to get off the platform, and hopefully to have some consequences so they won't feel like doing this to other people in the future.
Amazing. Well, that you really over deliver, as far as sometimes you think about, well, you help with Amazon, maybe you like figure out how to draft an email, but I mean that's huge, and that's crazy, just as far as what you do, but also the danger that's out there, right? As far as the internet and the dark web and the world, there's like unlimited danger, and it's up to us to figure out how to kind of mitigate that risk. And but it is a scary world out there, and so I love that story. And also, but I'm also filing away the number one lesson is, don't do supplements if it's your first product on Amazon, because some of these categories, and you hear stories like that where it's just like you're putting yourself through so much difficulty, your first product out of the gate, even though it sounds exciting. Why are you doing it if you've looked into all the ways to go wrong, or all the competition out there? There might be a way to do a different strategy or do better as far as working on Amazon. And that just kind of sets the difference between jumping into one of these money-making, get-rich-quick YouTube videos like you're talking about, where they make it look glamorous, but they leave out so much, versus actually getting help from someone like you and not going in alone. And so what does that look like, as far as if someone says, okay, I want to be on Amazon, and maybe they're new or maybe they're established, how do they work with Riverbend Consulting, and what are the choices available to them?
So if you're a brand new seller or if you're trying to take your products onto Amazon, the best, cheapest method is really going to be check out the Amazon Incubator. It's $25. It doesn't cost what a course costs, where it's thousands of dollars, and it gives a great overview. So I would start there. And if you go to the AmazonIncubator.com, there's links to all the different bookstores. It's distributed by Simon and Schuster, so it's everywhere. As far as if you have existing Amazon problems, we would love to help you at Riverbend. We help with everything from suspensions to buy box issues to gating, you name it. If Amazon won't cooperate with you, we're your go-to people, and you can find us at riverbendconsulting.com. And then if you want to sell on Amazon, you're interested, you don't know what to do, you just have questions, hit me up on social media. You can find me, Lesley Hensell, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram. I'm everywhere. Send me messages. I love to talk to new sellers. I love to talk to people who want to have small businesses and be entrepreneurs. I don't charge for that. I just have conversations. And someday if you have a problem, you're going to come to me and ask for help, and that'd be awesome. So just reach out. I'm here for that, and would love to hear from you.
Wonderful. So those links are riverbendconsulting.com and then the AmazonIncubator.com to check out the book. And then to find her on social media, that's Lesley Hensell, LesleyHensell. So that way you can just stay up to date with this beast that is on Amazon, where things change all the time. They add rules. The bad guys try to do things, and then there's rules for that. There is Walmart's being competition, and who knows what's ahead as far as the supply chain, robot trucks, AI, who knows what. It's a guaranteed way to fail is to put your head in the sand and not stay up to date, but a way to hedge your bets and to have a greater chance of success is to stay up to date on this, is to get the Amazon Incubator, Grow Your Business or Hatch a New One book, and then follow Lesley on social media. And if you think she and her company can help you, if you have this problem and you want her to jump in, then reach out and have that conversation, and you'll be glad that you did. And so as we're winding down our conversation here, Lesley, I always like to end with a bang and not a whimper, right? And think about like a quote or lesson that applies, and it can either apply for e-commerce or Amazon or just business or life. Just it's up to you. Does anything jump out in your mind when I ask you about a quote or lesson to really help us today in whatever context makes sense to you?
I have a fun one that I've been working on personally lately, and that is to plan your weekend the same way that you plan your work week. And I got this concept from Cal Newport. He's a professor who talks a lot about deep work. He talks about efficiency. He's real into not being a slave to your devices. But one thing he talks about is that sometimes we don't plan our free time, and so we don't actually do anything with it. And being productive in your free time actually gives you more satisfaction and happiness than sitting around and doing nothing, having the weekend pass by, you don't know what happened. So recently, my son and I went to 7 postseason football and bowl games, collegiate games. And that was because we planned that. We went to 7 games in 1 month. It was so much fun. And it was because we had planned it. It was such a good use of time. We bonded. I mean, when is a 16-year-old going to spend that much time with his mother? When she takes him to football games. And I really learned from that experience that I've got to plan that weekend time better to get more out of it. And then on Monday, you actually feel really rejuvenated instead of reluctant that the weekend is over.
That's amazing. That's what they call a hot tip, to plan your weekends. That way you'll have more fulfillment. I imagine that it also helps with the momentum factor, because if you're crushing the week and then you sit around in the easy chair all week and watching TV and playing on your cell phone, and then you have to get back into the fun, productive mode, then that just seems like quite the switch. And so that makes a lot of sense to plan your fun weekend activities. Doesn't mean the schedule has to be packed, but it is worthwhile because the time will pass anyway, and that's apparent for sure when when we look at the Amazon e-commerce situation, how fast things happen. And I heard some statistic a while ago that really depressed me, that they said, like, if you look at the time you spend with your child the first 18 years, and then after 18 years, there's only like 1 year total in all the time that's sprinkled from age 18 to whatever. There's only 1 year in that after age 18. And it's like, man, I guess there's two ways of looking at it, right? You could feel sad, or you could say, I need a better strategy for what I'm doing. And those Amazon e-commerce sellers out there need a better strategy as far as going it alone or pursuing the get rich quick schemes. Don't do that. Instead, go to riverbendconsulting.com and the amazonincubator.com. You'd be glad you did. Lesley, wonderful seeing you again.
Thanks so much, Robert. This was fun.